One day, when the glory comes, it'll be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the glory comes, it'll be ours. It will be ours. Now the war is not over, and the victory isn't won, and we'll fight on to the finish when it's all done, and we'll cry glory, glory, oh glory. One day when the glory comes, it'll be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Glory. Oh, glory. Oh, glory. Now the war is not over, and the victory isn't won, and we'll fight on to the finish. Then when it's all done, we'll cry glory. Oh, glory.
This morning to start out with sounds and sights from Africa, that happy continent. Thank you, God. Welcome to Detroit Unity Temple. And here we stand with the idea that you can overcome with the opportunities and challenges of living. Meet the awesome power of God within you. And if you are joining us from around via the internet, we welcome you into our spiritual community. And now, we will have the reading of the daily word from Unity. Today's word is I believe. And let us affirm that together. I believe. And once more with every cell of our body. I believe. I believe. One more time. I believe. The Gospels poignantly communicate a father's pain and frustration when Jesus reminded him that all things are possible for one who believes. The father's son suffered from serious illness that no one, not even Jesus' disciples, had been able to cure. I believe, help my unbelief, the father cried, and his son was healed. I believe, help my unbelief. Let's affirm that together. I believe, help my unbelief. And they were healed. My journey of faith may not always be straight and smooth. I may at times reach the limit of my human ability to believe. In those moments, I surrender to the divine presence within me, affirming, I believe, opens my mind and heart to the faith expressed in the life and ministry of Jesus. Through divine presence, the Christ in me I believe and find the answers to my prayers. Immediately, the father of the child cried out, I believe, help my unbelief. Mark 9:24. And now, let us affirm together our congregational mission statement. Together, our mission and goal is to prayerfully demonstrate the teachings of Jesus Christ through the study and practice of truth principles. And now let us affirm our vision statement for the Living Temple. Together, we, the spiritual community of Detroit Unity, joyously carry out the vision of renewal and prosperity for ourselves, our spiritual home, and our world. If you are new to Detroit Unity Temple, we will welcome you and acknowledge you later in the service. Now let's take a time now as we greet our friends with true love, true light, and support. Okay. Augustus.
African words in it, and I want to say them to you before we get started. It's Sia Hamba Hamba. Sia Hamba Hamba. Let me hear y'all say that. Sia Hamba Hamba. Sia Hamba Hamba. I'm going to sing it for you, and then after that, y'all can jam for me. We are marching in the light of God. 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 Sia Amba, Amba, Sia Amba, Amba. We are marching in the light of God. Sia Amba, Amba, Sia Amba, Amba. We are marching in the light of God. Now y'all sing. We are marching in the light of God. 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 Sia Amba, Amba, Sia Amba, Amba. We are marching in the light of God. Sia Amba, Amba, Sia Amba, Amba. We are marching in the light of God. 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 We're marching. We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. Yeah, let's give God a hand. Hey.
Amen, amen, and amen. Don't be seated. Take a few moments and greet your neighbors. Yes. right? We're not stopping the flow of love, we're just stopping it while you're standing. So sit down and just still send those wonderful vibrational feelings of love to your neighbors. Amen. You ain't got to stop loving, you just got to sit down and do it. That's all. Still feel it, don't you? Yeah, you ain't got to be standing to do it. You got it. Okay, now it's time to say our statement of truth, and we're going to do it together. Are you ready? Now I need y'all to wake up and do this now. We're in church, right? We're glad to be in this service. Everybody doesn't have the opportunity to do it this morning, so we're glad to be here. Amen? Somebody be excited about it. Okay. So together, there is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe. God, the good, omnipotent. It's just something about that statement, isn't it? Amen, amen. And now we're going to say our prosperity thought for the week. You ready? Together. With joy comes hope and an attitude of abundance.
Yes.
Let's do it again.
Say that again.
With joy comes hope and an attitude of abundance. Okay, now we're going to ask you to turn off all your electronic devices, anything that buzzes, beeps, clicks, does whatever, because we're going to take this moment and just go into meditation where we just talk to our God. Amen?
Yes.
Amen. That deep breath. Take a few seconds to do it again at your own pace. We're breathing in the love of God, and we're breathing out the love of God. Breathing in the love of God. breathing out the love of God. Because ultimately there is nothing but love. God, you said to us to love you, the Lord our God, with all thy heart. You said to love thy neighbor as thyself. We know that you love the world so much that you gave your only begotten Son. You taught us that love is patient and kind and doesn't envy or boast, and it's not proud. You gave us these wonderful fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, gentleness, tenderness, kindness. But you told us the greatest of those were love. So we know that love is a vibrational energy that's all around us. It's expansive. It just feels good. So it's no wonder that the world took some time this week to celebrate love. They call it Valentine's Day. We just call it Love Day. It's no different for us than any other day, because love is love. We know that love's in need of love today. And so we pass it on to ourselves, to our children, to our significant others, to people we pass on the street, to those folk who sometimes rub us in that way. We just send some extra love. Yes. And we know that the love in us will greet the love in them. And it will just be a love fest. Not just on that day, but on every day. Just take a few seconds right now to focus on your heart center and who you want to send this love out to. Yes. Love. And we tell ourselves that loving you is easy 'cause you're beautiful, and every day of my life is filled with loving you. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, do 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 do. Amen.
Israel was in Egypt's land. Let my people go. pressed so hard they could not stand. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Thus said the Lord, old Moses said, let my people go. If not, I'll smite your firstborn dead. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell Pharaoh to let my people go.
Magnificence at its best. Swin, thank you so much. Augustus, thank you. It is with great joy this morning that I introduce to you our guest speaker, Clifford Sykes. He's an extensive traveler of Africa and has a lot of knowledge and insight he's going to share with us this morning. Please welcome our own Clifford Sykes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. With all that applause, first of all, good morning. Is Mother Powell in the house? Mother Powell, anybody in here, raise your hand if you are 75 or older. Raise your hand. Hey, now. Okay, so it is tradition in the African community to ask permission from the elders. Can I open my mouth and speak? So I ask all of you who are 75 or older, may I have your permission to speak? Thank you. And in the African tradition, if someone had said no, I have to sit down. Because I did come up in an era where children were seen and not heard, unless they were asked to speak. So I thank you. And as we begin, how many of you got the email or the phone call explaining why Reverend Geis is not here? Let me see your hands. Anybody? Not very many. A few. I am here this morning because yesterday at around 3:30 I was sitting at home preparing to do my presentation after service, echoes and messages from the motherland. Phone rings, and it's Reverend Geis, and I'm hearing, right away I recognized that his voice sounded different. but I didn't pay. I'm thinking, I actually thought maybe he was sleeping, was just waking up, you know, and he was kind of, and he said, Brother Sykes, I need you to, I heard tape, T-A-P-E. He said, I want you to take my service, to my lesson tomorrow. And I'm thinking, well, Effie and them, they tape it every Sunday, you know. He said, no, I want you to tape my service. And again, the second time, I heard T-A-P-E on the phone. And I said, Reverend, you said you want me to tape it? He said, no, I want you to take my talk tomorrow. And at that point, you know, I'm like, huh? What did he say? So as I begin to, they actually both work, but this one is kind of got its own mind. It's rather annoying. That's what it is. So okay. Before I begin, I also grew up in my church in Kansas City, where Reverend Bill Hurst and Reverend Henry Lawson always said, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. And so I echo that. And also, before we begin, let us, as soon as I got clear in my mind what Reverend Geis was asking me to do, the next thing that popped into my head was, thank you, ma'am.
We're going to have check one.
Okay, but this is okay. Oh, feedback. All right. So the next thing, thank you, Effie. The next thing that popped into my mind after I realized what Reverend Geis was asking me to do was this. So I'm going to ask Sven that we take another minute, all of us, to go back into that special place for Reverend Geis. And the reason he's not here is because his brother passed yesterday. And so I would like to, with your kind permission, because the words are so powerful and so apropos right now. If you know it, what page is it on, Sven?
In the African American hymnal 442.
Oh, well, it's Sweet Hour of Prayer. So, sweet hour of prayer, sweet hour of prayer that calls me from a world of care and bids me at my Father's throne make all my wants and wishes. No, and keep going, Trent. 88. And this is why I thought of Reverend Geis. And we'll sing it, but I want to say it to you. In seasons of distress and grief, my soul has often found relief and often escaped the tempter's snare by thy return, sweet hour of prayer. So let's go to the bridge. In seasons. In seasons of distress and grief, my soul has often found relief and oft escaped the tempter's snare by thy return, sweet hour let us pause for a minute, not only for Reverend Geis and his family, but for Sister Iris and all of those that have made their transition, because we know there's no such thing as death. We just move on to another level, another existence, back to our Creator for another assignment. Sweet hour of prayer. Peace and blessings on all of their spirits. Thank you. And just before we get to our message, his talk was, is it up there? Quad Centennial. You know, this is 2019 is 400 years since the arrival of the first Africans allegedly at Jamestown, Virginia, because history tells us that we had been here for at least 500 or 600 years before that, and more than likely we were always here as well as there. So, but before we start that, I want to express a little bit on why that music is so important. And I'm sure you all know, you've sung, you've been in church all your life, and you know how important the music is to everything that we do. The music has brought us a mighty long way, the spirituals and the gospels. And I feel blessed that music has been my life, all of my life, as long as I can remember. And so it was no accident that when I went to university, I had no clue why I was going to college. Everybody's going to college. I guess I'll go to college. True. I had no clue until I got there, and doing registration, Dr. O. Anderson Fuller, who was the first African American in this country to get a PhD in music at the University of Iowa in 1946. I said, young man, what do you want to do? I said, I want to go to New York and play. I want to be a musician. He said, son, a lot of musicians can't pay the rent. You need to study education. So when you go to New York and don't have a job, you can teach. And so it's the best advice I had, and I thank God that I had the common sense to follow his advice. So the music is very important, and it's even more important as we realize that music and psychology, music is processed in the same place in the brain that language is. Remember how you learned your ABCs? A, B, C, D, E, with a melody. And we don't, that's not our subject today, but you know, you must realize how important that is. And it's interesting how over the last 20 years, education has taken the arts out of the schools. And we're just now on the bottom of the J curve trying to bring the arts back. But I digress. It's also significant that Augustus did let my people go. Because if you have your device, your electronic device, keep it on silent, or if you have your Bible, look at Genesis 15. Genesis 15 and verse 13. Abram was talking to God about, God, what am I going to do? I don't have no son, no kids. And this is just before God told him to go to his maid. You know that story. But there's something very important about Genesis 15 and 13 that is apropos to the quadcentennial, 400 years since the landing of 15 African Americans, Africans on Jamestown, Virginia. And you know, Malcolm said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. What? Okay. So it says, but first in verse 7, and God said to him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? It goes on, they continue their conversation. And here's the crux of what I want you to understand this morning about Genesis 15 and 13. Just had it. Here you are. Genesis 15 and 13. And this is the crux, the biblical crux of our message today. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety. Now, this is God talking, right? He said, I guess, maybe, possibly. He said, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. That's what it says right here. 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. Are they being judged now? You bet they are. It's falling apart at the seams. I will judge, and afterwards shall they come out. That's you, will come out with great sustenance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, and thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But he says, he goes on and was at 16 and says, but be careful, because in the fourth generation they'll come back, because evil has not been quashed yet. But isn't that interesting? In the nation of Ghana, West Africa, this year is called the Year of the Return. And African Americans and many others are going to Ghana by the truckload, by the plane load. They are asking us to come back and help them build. And Ghana has the second or third largest economics in the continent out of all 54 countries. Ghana's building fast as they can. But this message, know of a surety that your seed will be strangers in a land that's not theirs. And is that not what we've been saying for 400 years? And so it is important that you understand that. Look at that. Read it when you get a chance, when you get home. So this message that Reverend Geis had planned, the African American Quadcentennial, and there were 4 points he wanted to get over. The African American Quadcentennial, 1619 to 2019, is the 400-year commemoration of the African presence in America. And again, it's very important to note that our great scholar in the Journal of African Civilization said that Africans were here a minimum of 500 years before Columbus, who never got here, by the way. And so In that, we reflect and remind ourselves that, one, we've been here longer than the vast majority of immigrants who mistakenly claim this country as their own. Our contributions, our creativity are the cornerstone of what makes America great. And I'll talk about that one a little more in a minute. The commemoration gives us a platform to push back at the notion that we are less than full citizens in this country. And we can use this time to teach ourselves, our children, and others the truth about who we really are as a people. Let me start with that one, who we really are as a people. Do you know in Zimbabwe, right now, today, there's a young man, an African, who is driving a car that he designed and built that runs on radio waves, no gas or oil. The same thing that runs your phone, radio waves. He's driving a car, and it's a beautiful car. You can look it up. It looks like a cross between a Benz and a Jeep or something. Beautiful car. There are, and a movie has just been completed on the young man from Malawi who gathered junk parts, built a windmill, and brought water to his mother's house and later to the entire village, which was so successful he later bought, got some more junk parts, and some car batteries, and built a larger windmill and bought consistent electricity to his house. And they said, young man, this is amazing. How did you do that? He said, I went to the library every day. Education. And there are so many other stories. There are 4 young guys about age 19 right now who have developed a way to use their cell phones without the internet. Some amazing things that are happening. That's who we are. When they went in King Tut's tomb, they found all of the medical paraphernalia, the knives, all of the instruments that doctors use. They found them in Tut's tomb that were over 7,000 or 8,000 years old. That's who we are. In Uganda, they were doing brain surgery long before Europeans ever arrived there. And when the Europeans realized what was going on, they went to Uganda and said, how do you do that? How do you? He said, we sterilize our hands with banana wine. These are things that you can read for yourself. And by the way, who was it that started flight in America? The who? Ha. Do you know that when they were, and again, you can read this for yourself in the Journal of African Civilization, they found 17 model gliders made out of balsa wood, soft wood. And of course, the Western European scientists tried to say, oh, well, they were trying to make a bird. But they all had a fuselage on the end. Nobody's ever seen a bird with a tail like that. Birds' tails are all, am I right or wrong? Correct. So they found 17 model gliders that carbon-14 date for over 5,000 years. So the ancient Comedians or Egyptians were experimenting with flight. They've also found some in the Mayan ruins. They found one of the great kings crouched in something that looked like he had on a helmet, had his hands on some controls, and he was crouched like he was in something that looked like a plane. Scientists have built one, and they actually fly. What's that old saying? Nothing new under the sun? So that is point 4. We can use this time to teach ourselves and others the truth about who we really are as a people. If you know better, you do better. Right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. Right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. The contributions, our creativity, are the cornerstone. That's really what we just talked about. And then that we have been here longer. And so those are the 4 points that Reverend Geist really wanted to get over on this quad centennial. And it is very interesting that we who are here today are alive to recognize what we have been taught. It's 400 years. We are the ones that our ancestors dreamed about that would one day look back to Mother Africa. How many of you have traveled? Let me see. Anybody here traveled? Let me see your hands. Mama Alma, don't you even raise your hand. I'm surprised you're here today. So if you haven't, ladies and gentlemen, this would be the year to go. This would be the year to go. And I've seen some of the strongest people when they walk through the door of no return, the last place that our ancestors saw Africa. Once they went through that door and were marched out on a plank to the ships, that was their last view of Africa. Once they marched them down into the holds of those ships, that was their last view of Mother Africa. But we are the ones who they dreamed about would one day look back and come back home. Now, to bring this up to date, are you familiar with H.R. 1242? Anybody? H.R. 1242. It's a congressional record, and Reverend Geist asked me to share this with you this morning because he was going to. H.R. 1242, and please, as I tell my students when I travel and teach internationally, as I tell my students, look, don't believe anything I say. Check it out for yourself. Otherwise, if you don't study, anybody can tell you anything. Now, this is true. I want to see everybody respond. How many of you grew up thinking Columbus discovered America? Right. That's what we were taught. Am I right or wrong? Right. And that Ben Franklin discovered electricity because he had a key on a kite, and he, man, in ancient Egypt, they found a copper cistern with some kind of acidic liquid like orange juice or grapefruit juice, which they've redone, and attached it to some other apparatus that had electricity. Because the torches could not burn in these deep caverns in the pyramids because there was no air down there. They had electricity. But we aren't taught that. So, H.R. 1242 is 400 Years of African American History Commission Act, sponsored by Representative Scott Robert Bobby. He's on the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. It became Public Law number 115-102. And you can download this. When Reverend Geist talked to me yesterday, I just went right and downloaded it. H.R. 1242, 400 Years of African American History Commission Act. Public Law 115-102, and that is January 8th, 2018. This measure has not been amended since it was passed by the House May 1st, 2017. The summary of that version is here. The bill establishes the 400 Years of African American History Commission to develop and carry out activities throughout the United States to commemorate the 400th anniversary of the arrival of Africans in the English colony at Point Comfort, Virginia in 1619. There are 4 points, and when I get to the last one, it's funny, but it's not. The commission must, 1, plan programs to acknowledge the impact that slavery and laws that enforced racial discrimination had on the United States. Point 2, encourage civic, patriotic, historical, educational, artistic, religious, and economic organizations to organize and participate in this anniversary activities. Point 3, assist states, localities, and nonprofit organizations to further the commemoration. And point 4, coordinate for the public scholarly research on the arrival of Africans in the United States and their contributions to this country. Now, it's trying to pass a law to do what we should have been doing all along. But here we go. This is the part that I said is funny, but actually is pretty serious. Section 7 says the commission must prepare a strategic plan and submit a final report to Congress that contains a summary of its activities and accounting of its received and expended funds. Received and expended funds. Did I say received and expended funds? And its recommendations. Received and expended funds. Section 8 says the commission shall terminate July 1st, 2020. Section 9, all expenditures of the commission shall be made solely from donated funds. In other words, we ain't giving y'all nothing. And there have been several movements to talk about reparations, and it's still being discussed. Everyone has received, the Japanese, everyone's received reparations but us, because we have not demanded it. And I would just remind you, this is me, not Reverend Geis, I'll just remind you that, Reverend Carroll said in closing. Thank you. And I'll just remind you briefly that in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and several other places, African people built Black Wall Street. And I, again, downloaded my cheat sheet. In 1921, Black Wall Street had 600 businesses in like a 2-mile square area. Greenwood, Archer, and Pine streets in Tulsa. Greenwood, G, Archer, A, P, Pine. Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. GAP, the Gap Band. That's where they got the name, in honor of Black Wall Street. They had 21 churches. Oh, we way surpassed that now, huh? 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, 6 private airplanes. This is Black folk in 1921. Had a hospital, a bank, and its own school system where children dressed every day to go to school. So, we have a lot to do, a long way to go, and somebody printed a picture on Facebook the other day with just a picture of a young guy walking down the street, and the picture was from the back, pants way down, bunched up around his ankles, underwear or something showing. And they said, what? And the guy that posted it said, what's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? Why are we like, what's wrong with our young people? And I responded to him and said, young folk today, those that are like that are saying, y'all didn't raise us right, you didn't stand up for something, you didn't make us do right at home, so we don't give, so we don't care. We have a lot of work to do. So, in being obedient to Reverend Carol telling me, in closing, I want to thank you very much. I don't know if Reverend Geis or anyone of his family is watching. I suspect not. He is? Okay. Well, Reverend Geis, we love you. Can we give him the unity blessing? You can just put your hands up here. He knows, because we have lost so many. Together, Reverend Geis, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. God bless you, God bless you, God bless you.
What a powerful presentation. It's part of being an institute of higher education, Detroit Unity. And he's having a powerful workshop after this to continue the conversation and the information. Thank you so much. Our own Clifford Sykes. Thank you. Beautiful. And now it's that time when we share and we offer our tithes, our gifts to God. And at the same time, we bless this substance in our hands, seeing it being multiplied and increased for this church and for us. And for those of you watching us via the internet, we ask that you offer your gift at this time. And now let us affirm the offering blessing. Divine love in and through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
I was going to sing another song, but I was so inspired by the message that I thought I would do something relative. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all these chains that's holding me. I wish I could say all the things I should say, still out it clear for the whole wide world to hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart, remove all the bars that still keep us apart. I wish you could know what it means to be me. can you see and agree every man should be free? I wish I could give all the love I could give. I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish I could do all the things I could do, though I'm way overdue. I'd be starting brand new. I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if I found I could fly. I'd soar to the sky and look down at the sea, and I sang 'cause I knew. Yes, I sang 'cause I knew. I would have sang 'cause I knew how it feels. Hallelujah. To be free.
Oh my God. That's the Sven Anderson. Thank you so much. Now let's take a moment as we again enter into the space of all substance, prosperity, love, light overflowing. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Amen. Now we invite back to the podium Reverend Melanie Donahue. Okay.
Well, good morning. Again, right? Amen. Let's see, before we get started, I would like just to take a few moments just to acknowledge a spiritual mentor of mine, and you all know and love her also. And we just send love also to Reverend Ernestine and her husband, Mr. Stoney, for their physical loss this week of their son. But we know that he is still all around. So yeah, we know the death angel has been busy, but that's okay, because we know to be absent in the body is to be present with the Lord, right? And we know that in unity, so ain't no tears over here. And if there are, they're just going to be tears of joy for what we know we experienced when they were here, okay? Yeah. So here we go. It's Miss Melly bringing you the Kingdom News with activities, events, and classes designed for, by, and with the people of God in mind. Amen? Amen. Amen. So I'm looking over here today, and it's just another reminder of a physical right now for the tour guide. But guess what? If you need to tour our wonderful facility, no one is in that chair. We're going to have Kevin right here. Come on out, Kevin. You're going to help us. He'll tell you, he'll show you all around, right? This is our house, and he can show you everything about it. So that's our tour guide. Raise your hand. Open your mouth and say something. All right. All right. Can our prayer chaplains and prayer team please stand? Amen. Please join us in front of the stage after the service for a time of prayer. Our annual quilt show, and you can all see the evidence all around us, right? How amazing. Stitched with warmth and positive energy will be open today from 12 to 2 p.m. in the sanctuary. Next Sunday at Detroit Unity Temple, we will have a guest speaker. It will be Reverend Peter Hart from Unity, who will speak on the topic, History of the Masons and Eastern Stars. Amen. So come with your full regalia on. We'll be ready for you, okay? Following the workshop, or the service will be a workshop with Dr. Dawood, a health workshop, and it'll be the healing of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, and arthritis for African Americans. The workshop will be from 12:15 to 2:15. The Men of Unity will host this Friday, February 22nd, Spike Lee's movie, Black Klansman. The movie is based on the true life experience of a black Colorado state trooper who infiltrates the KKK with the purpose of destroying it from within. And I think we have a clip.
There's never been a black cop in this city. We think you might be the man to open things up around here.
Hello, this is Ron Stallworth calling. Well, who am I speaking with?
This is David Duke.
Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. That David Duke?
God. Last time I checked. What can I do for you?
Well, since you asked, I hate blacks. I hate Jews, Mexicans, and Irish, Italians, and Chinese. But my mouth to God's ears, I really hate those black rats. And anyone else, really, that doesn't have pure white Aryan blood running through their veins.
I'm happy to be talking to a true white American.
God bless white America. The KKK is planning an attack.
How do you propose to make this investigation?
We'll establish contact over the phone. We'll need a white officer to play me when they meet face to face.
You for the white race, Ron?
Oh, hell yeah. So there becomes a combined Ron Stallworth.
Can you do that?
With the right white man, we can do anything.
When's the last time they let a rookie lead an investigation? Oh, that's right. Never.
Okay, become his friend. Let's get invited back.
So what kind of stuff you guys do? Cross burnings, marches. This is fixing to be a big year for us.
You ask too many questions. You undercover or something?
We must unite and organize to fight racism.
Are you down for the liberation of black people?
Power to the people.
All power to all the people.
All power to all the people.
That's right, sister.
For you, it's a crusade. For me, it's a job.
You're Jewish. That hatred, doesn't that piss you off?
We're taking this Jew lie detector test.
Why are you acting like you ain't got skin in the game?
I'm telling you, a war's a coming.
Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. That's us.
Stallworth Brothers. We're on a roll, baby.
America first.
America first. America first.
If I would have known this was a plan, man, I wouldn't have taken this mother.
All right, y'all see it? So I want this place this Friday to be filled. I'm about to give y'all some throwback stuff, like the old Northwest or the old Mercury Theater. Fill this place up, y'all, okay? Now we're gonna have Mr. Kevin Irwin to give us an update on some upcoming events.
Thank you. Good morning, Detroit Unity. Good morning. You all hear me fine. First of all, a little payback. Since Melanie volunteered me to be the tour guide, I'm sure she's going to do that rendition of what she sang earlier in the talent show, Loving You. But really, seriously, I'm going to be real brief. As you know, some of you have heard that we will be having our first annual Detroit Unity Temple Talent Show, which will be March 30th of this year. I will only be probably making one more announcement after that because rehearsals will be beginning soon. I will be outside, actually in the lobby at the table for those that are interested in becoming a part of the talent show, either with their talent or would like to be on the committee. I'm really excited about this. I hope, in fact, that each and every one of you are, and the word will be getting out even much more. So God bless you. And Cliff, thank you. Thank you for your speech, and for the church, Reverend Geis, condolences to you and your family. God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I feel you. So Reverend Geis volunteered Clifford to speak. I volunteered Kevin to be the whatever, and he gonna volunteer me. That ain't how it work, buddy. Okay, so we got Miss Latia Porter coming out with our 2 seniors from the Youth of Unity. Come on out.
Good afternoon, church. Okay, so my name is Phoenicia Long.
My name is Bria Moore.
And we are here to announce once again the Gospel Youth Explosion. It's March 23rd of this year, and it's from 7 to 9. So we're asking you to promote like crazy, tell a friend, because we want this church packed. And you know, there will be food, refreshments. There will be a singer, a violinist, a dance group. They will perform their own mime dance, and there will be a pastor named Bernicia Browning. She will be the one who delivers the lesson for that Saturday, and it's going to be real fun, real inspirational, really motivational, and we ask that you come out and support.
The cost is free. How many of you like free?
Yeah.
Free. Yeah, free. How many of you plan to come? Yeah. If you are not able to come, make sure you tell somebody else. You can bring whoever. It's geared towards the youth, but everybody's invited. Once again, it's free. We want this house packed because the only way we can show that this will be a successful event is if you promote, if your kids promote, grandkids, whoever promotes this event. We want to see our own house packed, our own Sean Townsend will be singing. So we want to make sure that we support our youth and the speakers as well. Thank you.
And next I'm going to be bringing Mama Elma up to the podium. Y'all ready for her? Yeah. All right.
Good morning. You know you have to repeat after me. Yeah. Read, read, read. Repeat it after me. Read, read, read.
Read, read, read.
The more you read,
the more you read,
the better you read,
the better you read.
So read, read, read.
So read, read, read.
Clifford talked to you about going to the library and reading about African American history, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. That's very important. Don't believe everything you hear. You go check it out yourself.
Right.
Okay? March is Reading Across America Month. And usually Edith Hightower and I sit outside and sign you up to come, all of you, to come and read to the students in the schools. But last year, Edith made her transition and I miss her. But Dr. Mongo, are you here? She should be here somewhere. Maybe she's out in the lobby. She and I are going to be taking names of persons, of all of you who are going to sign up to read to the students in the schools. We have about 5 schools in the metropolitan area, and we'll tell you what they are. Mayor McLeod Bethune in her legacy said, in the last one, she says, if I have a legacy to leave my people,
it's finally our responsibility to the young people. We have a responsibility to make sure that all of our young people know how to read.
Yeah.
Are you up to it?
Yeah.
And Brother Malcolm X said, even in prison, he said, if I wasn't reading in the library, I was reading on my bunk, and I never felt so free.
Yes.
So if you know who you are as a spiritual being, and we read to find out more about that and listen, and you know who you are as a cultural being, nobody can take your dream away from you.
Thank you.
And lastly, Malcolm X, not Malcolm, but Frederick Douglass has said, once you learn to read, you will be forever free. Once you learn to read, you will be forever free. And as Malcolm said, even in prison. So we're going to focus on reading in March, and you're going to, all of you, by the end of March, I want you to have purchased a book and given it to some child. We have started a little effort in the children's church for the book fairy to come to the children. I bring books and give them to Carmen, and she gives the book to the parents, so the parent can put the book under the pillow the night before the birthday. So you know how the tooth fairy comes? Well, the book fairy is going to come. So let us work together to make sure that all our kids learn to read.
And as young as the 8th grade, the students that I teach in South Africa, they're reading in two and 3 languages.
Ooh.
You better learn to read.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Okay. And now we're going to have a little, he'll give us a little bit, and he gave us something today about his workshop, Mr. Clifford Sykes Nkaru.
Yep. So I think 12:15. And we'll start across the hall, and I'll continue about the importance of education and public education in the United States, as you know, is about as low as it's been in my lifetime, and we have to do something, because otherwise it's the school to prison pipeline, and if we don't do anything, it's our fault. Young folk don't know what to do. It's us, the adults, that have to teach them. I'm sorry. Okay, Melanie.
All right, here we go. He done did another lesson, amen. Okay, so today for lunch we're having string beans. Excited? Yeah. Fried chicken. Did you smell it? Like when we were in here, I was like, I smelled it. Turkey meatballs, red skin potatoes, Mexican corn, salad, dessert, coffee, and drinks.
Yeah.
Is that exciting?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm excited. I'm excited and I'm hungry. Let me say this. I'm throwing this in. Yesterday, along with other days, we have these homegoing celebrations that are amazing. But I'm going to ask you, how many of you have ever seen a dollar store? The dollar store, right? So I'm going to ask you to stop by the dollar store. Listen, this is your home. We need, when you come here, bring some waters, bottles of water. Just pick them up when you go. Bottles of water, that candy you like to eat out there, like it doesn't fill itself. Bring some candy, preferably tangy, that's my favorite. And bring some Kleenex boxes. Let's just make sure that we always have that, right? When people are sitting here, we're like, let's just make sure that we have everything that we need. Let's keep our storehouse full, okay? All right, so this concludes our announcement. Detroit Unity Temple is amazing. We have classes and quilts and foods, oh my. Classes and quilts and foods, oh my. Yes.
All right.
Woo.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The presence of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Join hands and sing our peace song. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace was meant to be. With God as our Father, family all the way. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Amen. All that work, and it turned out something different.